Hey guys, it's Rian again. Hope you guys have been doing well. Today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Leze Neale-May, full-time photographer, part-time model. She runs her own business from home, small business. And we thought it would be interesting to get her insights into what's happening at the moment. Everybody working from home. Maybe she's got some cool tips for us to share. So, Leze, how are things on your side?
Hi, Rian. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. How are you?
Good, we're coping. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. You know, everybody's struggling, and it's been good for us as a family. But I think a lot of people are just getting frustrated with there's still no end in sight. Really, I think there's a lot of things, a lot of uncertainty that we still have to work through. So before we can get some clarity on what's going to happen. But on your side, I mean, how things are going on your side. I know you recently had your birthday. It was a big one, wasn't it? The big 3-0. How and how's everything going since then?
Hi, Rian. Thank you so much. I had an awesome birthday on Friday. It was a big city. And I must say, even though I didn't get like any physical birthday gifts, I still felt very blessed with all the messages that came through. And yeah, it just makes you realize, what's actually important in life and that you can still celebrate even if you're in lockdown and yeah, you can't have like a massive party, but yeah, just the message just made me feel super blessed. And yeah, it's just all about counting your blessings and looking at the positive side of things.
Cool, cool. I wanted to check with you. I mean, like I just said, you know, we've been coping at home. You know, I've still got some work to do on the side and keeping wife and kid busy on this side. What have you guys been doing to pass the time? You know, just to try and stay sane.
Well, we've been trying to stick to our normal routines with regards to working out and things like that. But yeah, we've also been trying to learn some new skills on the side. I've been catching up with work. I actually had a massive amount of work that I still had to finish that I actually never could get on top of since load shedding kicked in the country. So I actually just had some time to get on top of work. So for me, stress-wise, it's actually in that regard, it's been good. Just to be able to get on top of it for a change. And yeah, we've just been trying to keep each other positive and yeah, reconnect because I feel like with our busy lifestyle, sometimes you can live a bit past each other. So it was nice. It's nice to just reconnect with family a bit at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Well, I feel that it's been for us, like I said, you know, we run around all day, every day for work, you know, and now spending some time alone with wife, with my son, and like, you know, we've got another one on the way. So, and I know your husband also probably stuck at home most of the time now. He's a personal trainer. He can't exactly see clients at the moment. So it's just the two of you. I mean, I don't want to say you're driving each other up the walls, but I know sometimes they but most of the time, you know, it's what you make of it and try to stick positive. And as you said, rightfully, sticking to a schedule and trying to just make the most of it, learn new things, spend time with the people that matter the most, and see the positive out of all of this. There's so much negativity out there. You know, let's try and smile a bit. You know.
Definitely.
Tell
Yes,
me,
luckily my husband could. Sorry.
no, go for it.
Luckily my husband could take some online clients, so you can still keep going in some way with the coaching. But yeah, it's a bit difficult with group training. They've been doing the Zoom group meetings, but I think people just miss that social interaction,
Exactly, yeah.
being able to train in a group. And I think when you train in a group, you also become a bit competitive with the person next to you, and then you push yourself a bit harder. So, yeah. But I mean, we all just try to make do with what we have available at the moment.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to touch on with you today, as I mentioned, you run your own business. You run your own business from home as a photographer. I think it's one thing that a lot of people are struggling with at the moment is that sticking to routine and trying to stick to a schedule as much as possible. I know on our side, you don't really have to get up early. Well, we have to because our son's an early riser, but I mean, usually you don't have a specific reason like work to get up in the morning early. So you try to, you go to bed a little bit later and you wake up later, and the whole day is sort of just a jumble from there. How important has it been for you to get that schedule and keep to that schedule and actually run your day as close to normal as possible?
Yeah, Rian, for me, I'm actually used to working from home because as a wedding photographer, I only really work like on location on weekends. So during the week, I usually do my editing. So with regards to working from home, things that have worked for me in the past and still work for me is to stick to a certain schedule. You get up at a certain time. You make yourself lists to get through and get through the things that you want to get through and set yourself goals, which I think is very important because with current situation, it's very easy to just fall into a rut of getting up later every morning, getting a bit lazy. So to keep yourself motivated, it's always best to kind of stick to a time schedule and try to keep yourself motivated like that.
I think an important thing you mentioned earlier was saying that you guys are trying to learn new skills and focus on other things as well. What are some of the things you guys have been looking at? I know in our house, our kitchen has basically been turned into a bakery. I'm going to pick up crap load of weight because it's cookies and cupcakes and cakes and all these things happening in our kitchen, which is right here. And I've been trying to work on things like these, the podcast and some video editing and just my normal to do on top of that. But what are some of the things you guys have been focusing on and trying out new things to try and stay busy?
Well, at the moment I'm busy with painting again, which is something that I haven't done in years, or I actually haven't had time to do in years. And I must say it's something that I missed, and I've really just I think I've actually always wanted to revisit that skill.
That passion of yours, that passion of yours.
Yeah, and passion, and I just haven't had time to do it with my busy lifestyle. And like I said, I've been catching up with editing. I'm actually just almost only done now with my mountain of work that I've had to catch up on during lockdown. But your painting was one for me. My husband has, like I said, the online coaching is actually also a new skill that he's had to actually now teach himself how to do the online coaching. And I think everything is kind of heading towards an online kind of direction at the moment. I think if you can educate yourself with regards to selling things online, media, how to make money over social media, blogging or whatever, then that's a good direction to investigate at the moment. Or to learn more about.
You mentioned like your husband doing the online coaching. I mean, that must be an interesting thing because used to having people around you and actually physically show them things, how to train and how to do the exercises, but now you have to explain it to them. He obviously has luckily you have things like the Zoom calls, you can still do some demonstration, but I mean, you can't keep an eye on people that closely and actually, it's a different thing to motivate someone to do the things that they used to do in the gym, but now do it at home. I mean, it makes his life difficult, but I mean, it's up to everyone else to just motivate themselves and to be willing to train that way. I mean, I think has that been something that he's spoken about? He sees some of the people maybe not putting in the effort that they usually do. I mean, what's his approach been, or his mindset been?
Yes, well, I think for him it's quite a challenge because, like you say, he's used to being able to interact with people and showing them the exact movements, and if they don't do something right, then you can walk to that person and actually stop them and show them physically how to do it properly. So it is a bit of a challenge to be able to do it, through a computer screen or, online. People don't always hear you properly, and you have to be very specific with the movement so the person don't injure themselves. And also the clients have limited access to equipment at the moment. You have to work with what they have. And it's just, I think a lot of people are falling into a rut at the moment of becoming a bit lazy and, going to bed a bit later, getting up a bit later. So it is difficult to keep people motivated at the moment, and also just to set themselves goals, because we don't know how long this thing is going to last, and it's difficult to have a goal when you don't know, when are you going to see or be able to interact with society again.
From your perspective, though, like you said, running a business from home, you said yourself now, you actually, the only time you're not working at home is when you're on location doing a photo shoot. But obviously it's good to have meetings with, say you've got a couple now, they've got a wedding in a few months, they want to meet you, you want to meet them, you want to get a feel for what they do, but their personality, so you know how to approach their wedding and their shoot. But also, if with the technology we have now, like this call you and I are on, you could actually book and schedule events so far ahead and only actually see these people on the day of the photo shoot. I mean, it's the one advantage of technology, but on the other hand, you can meet with them, you can speak with them, but it's always a lot better just to have that personal connection of face-to-face meeting with them. I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, you could do it like this, but it's better to do it face-to-face?
You know what, Rian? I have actually shot weddings where I've never met the client before in my life. Where it's just not possible for us to meet before, because it's like a client that's coming from overseas, or, with their schedule, it was just not possible to meet before. So for me, it doesn't make a massive difference, because I shoot what I have in front of me on the day and I work with what I have. But going ahead with that client, building a relationship with them, it does make a difference. If you are a client that likes to have a more personal relationship with your service providers, I enjoy getting to know my clients a bit better, just to see, what their style is, what kind of mood they're going to have for their wedding, what's important to them. Are there a couple that has a big family? Is there a lot of people coming from overseas? Just to look each other in the eye and say, just be able to know who you're going to work with on the day as well. Yeah.
Like you said, it's to get a feel for those people. I mean, you can speak to them, but you don't know what you can see this, like we said, you can see a head and the shoulders. You can't see body types. You can't see the couple as a whole. I think or see them in a setting together. I mean, just the way that people interact, can play a big part in a photo shoot. I mean, I've got a little experience in photography. I mean, I've done journalism photography and that sort of thing, but I know that it's not easy when you've got people in front of you. They're paying you for a service. They expect an amazing product. Now you're sitting with two people that struggle to, interact with a camera. They might not be the most photogenic people. I mean, that's probably one of the most difficult parts of your job is actually people. People think you take pictures, big whoop. But it's the people you take the pictures of and the interaction with them and how you engage with them, but also how they engage with each other. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yes, I definitely do. I must say, what helps even more than just having a meeting before the wedding is actually doing an engagement shoot before your wedding day. I definitely feel that for me as a photographer, I can then see, what angles work well with the specific couple. They get comfortable with me and my shooting style, and I can see what they feel uncomfortable with. Just how to get them to relax, and yes, and then I think it definitely makes a big difference on the wedding day, if you did an engagement shoot, just to relax and see what it's all about. It's not, um, you know, my shooting style. I don't have 2 million lights around the couple, and I think a lot of people get a bit nervous because they don't know what it's actually going to be like. But if you do something like an engagement shoot before the wedding, we get to know each other a bit, we get to chat a bit, we can talk about the wedding, and we can take photos, and you can see what it's all about.
And obviously on the wedding day, certain things, people's minds aren't with the photo shoot. Yes, you get to take pictures, but it's 10 million other things happening at once. And you might not get the opportunity to really get to know them. And I mean, like you said, you do an engagement shoot with a couple, great, they get to know you. You do the wedding shoot, they already know who you are. Now there's certain opportunities after that for you to create a relationship here. You might do a maternity shoot with them. You might do a newborn shoot with them. I mean, these are all things that new couples look at doing. It's all these things that you want to document with beautiful pictures. So I mean, it's important to get to know the people outside of that super stressful wedding environment. I mean, like we said, it's 10,000 different things. It's a mother-in-law, it's a Oma, it's all these people with an opinion of what should be happening. And they don't, and sometimes the bride and the groom are just standing there like, smile, it's stressed out about everything else. But like you said, building that relationship with people, and maybe repeat business is one thing, but just to provide them with a proper service on the day when their minds aren't exactly on it.
Yes, definitely, Rian. I think also, wedding photographers are, you have to have patience, and you have to know what you want on the day, with regards to your end result. And I think, yes, it does make it easier if you have a relationship with that client. But yeah, I think if I have to give advice to other photographers, like, you mustn't let the stress of the day get to your, like, interrupt the vision that you have for this couple's photos. And also, if you see they are a bit uptight and stressed out about things, it's good to put their minds at ease, and just to help them relax and enjoy the moment, and just to take everything in. And but yeah, it does definitely help to get to know each other a bit before. And yeah, especially I think for the grooms, most of them have never been in front of a camera in their lives. So I think a lot of them are very nervous. And if they can just meet me before, myself and the bride and the groom before the wedding, then yeah, they also feel a bit more relaxed. They know who they're working with. I'm someone that can speak Afrikaans and English. So if it's Afrikaans guys that can't speak English and I can speak Afrikaans to them, they immediately feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just all about getting to know each other and making each other feel comfortable. Yeah.
From a small business perspective now, well, let's start with working from home. I mean, we did touch on this briefly, but a lot of people now, as we said, forced to work from home now. Either they run a small business that they now need to run from home, or they work for a larger company. They now need to sort of, make a kind of office space at home to work from. Maybe they can't. They have a tiny house. They struggle to do that, or they just don't have the capacity to do it. What are some tips that you can give from your perspective? What's important? What are some of the things that you need to run a business from home? I mean, what are some crucial things that you, as a small business owner, home-run business, cannot go without?
Well, for one, my computer, because I do all my editing on there. So for me, definitely computer, cell phone. My website is definitely my number one thing that I cannot go without. I get a lot of, that's basically like my online gallery where you go and you look at my work. If you're interested, you can leave me a comment, or you can contact me on my website. So definitely my website is my number one, and my computer. And then obviously you need a telephone, someone can phone you. Anything that you can communicate with people online. So that is definitely important. You need fast internet so that you can communicate with people properly. So yeah, I think those 3 things or 4 things are definitely the most important. And yes, you must just be diligent with your time scheduling, and just sit and make yourself a list. I know it sounds like lame or stupid, but for me, definitely making a list is of things that I have to do is definitely makes a huge difference in my workflow. And because someone might email you while you replying to the email, someone's phoning you, and then you forget what you were busy with here. And then if you make a list, then you can tick off as you go, and make sure you reply to all your clients properly. I think that's definitely one of the number one things that helps a business run successfully from home or from anywhere, actually, is to be able to get back to your clients quickly and communicate with them. If you're not available, reply to them as soon as you can. Just tell them, I'm not available on the date, and then they know they can move on, or and also just keeping track of dates booked and things like that. I could carry on with this topic for a long
time. One thing that I found for me now, having to suddenly work from home and do some stuff from here, is you need to establish even if it's just a little small corner in your house, as an office. This is off limits to other people. This is where I sit and do my work. My notebook's there. I have a plug nearby to plug in my laptop to do my work from. It's somewhere where I have minimal interruptions while being able to focus on what I do. Do you have something like that set up at your house? Do you have an office set up at your place?
Yes, definitely, Ryan. You need an office. You need a space that you can call your own little space, even if it's just a desk. That is your your office at home desk. And that's where you keep your diary and your laptop, and just free from any, interruptions and things that can distract you. Where you can just sit and focus on work. And with that said, I also really feel like it's important to not sit in your office the whole day, because you can easily get a bit depressed and, start feeling lonely. And if you're just there not communicating with anyone the whole day, you will definitely fall into a depressed rut. So I would suggest, even if you can just go for a walk in your garden once a day, even if you just go for a drive, you don't even have to go into the shops, just to have a change of scenery every now and then, and just for your mental state. I think it's not good to be staring at a computer screen the whole day. So make yourself time slots where you're working, and time slots where you're taking some time for yourself to just gather your thoughts again and rest your eyes a bit, and just take a bit of a break.
You remind me, you said just get up away from your computer every now and then, like we used to say in Afrikaans, you oog vierkantig raak. At a PC.
Close.
The interesting thing now, as you said, like you have your space at home. This is where you work, where you do, I assume, the bulk of your editing, your bookings, your managing of your website, all that sort of thing. What is your approach now? Obviously, you have to go to location when you do shoots. That's your secondary office, working on location. What are some of the this may sound funny, but something people need to have in mind. When someone phones you, they book an event with you. You need to know where the venue is. You know, you can't on the day all of a sudden realize, oh crap, you know, I need to be somewhere and I keep forgetting. How important is that planning ahead? Not necessarily planning your day to day, but planning for that specific event. You know, like, you know, in 2 Saturdays from now, it might sound far away, but I mean, you blink your eyes and then all of a sudden, you know, it's time to go. How important is it for you to make sure that you have all those ducks in a row before you actually go to a location? And on that point, what are some of the things that you have to have in place before you actually go and do a shoot on location?
Yes, Rian, it's very important for a client to actually communicate with you where the shoot will be, how far you will have to drive, or you know, giving you the location so you can work out how far you will have to drive and how much time you'll be spending on the road. Because I mean, if I shoot a wedding and they book my 10-hour package, for me to drive 4 hours and then from there on start working for 10 hours, I mean, that's like 14 hours of concentration, you know, non-stop. So for me, if I have to drive to any location further than 3 hours, I prefer driving actually on the Friday already, because I mean, it's just too exhausting for me to actually get up that early and spend 3 hours on the road and then immediately start with another 10 hours of shooting. But I mean, it all depends on the client as well. I prefer doing it like that, you know, leaving on the Friday or the day before already. But if it's not possible, then I do leave on the day. But yeah, it's something to think about and to plan before. If I leave on the day and it's a winter wedding, I have to get up very early to leave, because winter weddings usually start a bit earlier. And yeah, and then I also have to figure out how much travel they have to pay me, you know, like travel expense, because that comes on top of the initial payment for the shoot. And I mean, you can't just book a shoot and then expect the photographer to drive there on their own expense. I mean, it's petrol, it's wear and tear on your car. So, and I mean, it's not only that, it's the time that you spend on the road. So all of those are things that you have to take into account when you book a photographer or any service provider on a location that's far away from where they're situated. So yeah, that's something that you have to put planning into. Sorry, what was the second half of your question again?
No, what we're saying is, you know, just to make sure that you know where you're going, and you mentioned very interesting there, wear and tear on your vehicle. I mean, you have to be sure that you need to know where the location is, so you know, can you actually get there? You can't drive a city golf and then people expect you to get on top of the mountain. So you have to, there's a lot of things that need to be in place and that you need to know and plan ahead. You can't just get in your car, drive in a direction, not knowing where you're going or what to expect. You know, people just say, oh, here at 3 o'clock. And so I'm jumping around now as well, but what you also mentioned was winter weddings. You know, you're very limited on lighting. So then it comes down to, we need to be there at a certain time. We need to have certain things done before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because then you start losing light. You know, people can't expect, okay, let's do a wedding. We're going to have a party until 10 o'clock at night, and then let's do a photo shoot. I mean, that just doesn't work. So, I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of planning going into it. People think you show up, you take a couple of pictures, and boom, here's a couple of, you know, $1,000. But I mean, it's a lot more complicated than that. A lot of things that you, as the photographer, need to plan way in advance before you actually arrive on the day.
Yes, Rian, and also with regards to accommodation, I mean, sometimes we only finish at like 10 o'clock in the evening. So you have to check on your photographer if you have to book accommodation for them. And with having said this, I mean, you don't want them to sleep in like your cousin's house or whatever. Book proper accommodation for them, you know. These are all professional working people. I mean, you've been on your feet for 10 hours. You need like a proper bed to sleep in after the wedding. So look after your service providers and they'll look after you.
Exactly, yeah. interesting enough, and we keep talking now about photography, because I mean, obviously you're a photographer, but we spoke off air quickly about the entire industry. You know, we're talking about the wedding industry. It's not just photographers. You know, you've got venues, you've got caterers, you've got makeup artists, dressmakers. All these different people need to come together to make a wedding happen. I wanted to touch on the effect that the lockdown has had on that, but before we get to that, you've obviously worked with all these people. You know a lot of these people. You know people at the venues. You spend more time at these venues than the bride and the groom do, because I mean, you've got weddings at these places. So I mean, it's important that you say there, we're talking about photography, but you rightfully said service providers, not just the photographer, but everybody involved needs to be, you need to keep these people in mind, because at the end of the day, they are the people that are gonna make your special day as special as it is, you know. So I mean, what besides photography, I mean, who do you feel are some of the people that need to be singled out? You mean that are super important to make a wedding happen?
Yes, Rian. Well, a wedding, you have to also look at it from a managing point of view. Like, if you can manage your service providers and communicate with them properly, then your wedding will come together. You need to start at a certain point and make sure everyone is clued up about your timeline, and other service providers that need to be clued up about things is definitely your caterers, your florists, your decor hire people, because at the end of the day, if your caterer isn't informed about what time your photo shoot will end, then they won't know what time to serve the food at your wedding for your reception. So it's like the whole wedding actually is a big, or relies a lot on communication between service providers, and you as a bride or as a bridal couple is the middleman between the service providers. And for your wedding to really come together and flow on your wedding day, you need to make sure that the service providers are all clued up about your timeline, and so that everything can come together at the end of the day. But yeah, people that all make up a wedding are people like makeup artists, hairdressers, florists, caterers, decor hire people, the wedding venue, the photographer, the videographer, and then if someone needs to come help you with putting your dress on, the designers of the wedding dresses. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and a lot of service providers that have to come together to make this day, work and flow properly at the end.
Now, moving away from the wedding business for a bit, I know that you've done quite a bit of modeling as well. It's sort of a side business for you as well. That in itself, and this is something I think is a misconception among a lot of people, is you stand around and look pretty, But I mean, take us behind the scenes on some of these things, like photo shoots that you've done. I mean, it's not just showing up and standing and smiling, It's also hours of makeup, it's hours of wardrobe checks, it's photo shoots. It's a tiring business to be in, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera. Making people look pretty isn't as easy as it sounds. So take us, behind the scenes. I know you, for example, you were part of the what's the magazine that you were part of? Sorry, Tyskap, the Afrikaans magazine, that you were part of the voorblad gezicht. That's the thing I was looking for.
Yes, it's like a cover girl search.
Yeah, like a model cover girl search for the Afrikaans magazine. And there's a wide range of people. They look at young girls, they look at older women. Take us behind the scenes of what that process was like. I know it was a long thing. It happened over months and months, but just behind the scenes of some of those photo shoots where you were actually in front of the camera.
Yes, Rian. With any photo shoot, it takes a lot of planning. On the Sari photo shoot, I wasn't as involved with the planning of the shoot as I usually am. I basically just arrived, and my outfit was already chosen for me, and my whole look was put together and planned before the shoot. Um, but I mean, with regards to styling and things like that, I had to sit for makeup for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Where they start with your makeup, they do your hair, they make sure everything is picture perfect. And yeah, then the lighting is set up before, the lighting in the background, that's all been discussed and planned before the shoot. But yeah, that was definitely very, very professional. Everyone knew what was going on, and the attention to detail was just, very, very professional and of a high standard. So yeah, they just make you feel so confident, and I think that's also another thing. When it comes to doing photo shoots, you have to make your subject or your model or whoever's in front of your camera, you have to make them feel confident. And I must say, through that whole photo shoot, they keep boosting your confidence continuously. And after that photo shoot, you actually feel so invigorated because of this massive confidence boost you just had. And you've got this whole team of people around you that make sure there's not a hair out of place, and that the makeup still looks good for every shot. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And I mean, for me to just plan a photo shoot, you usually start with the look of the shoot and what you want out of it, what the main goal is for the shoot. Is it clothing? Are you selling clothing? Are you selling beauty products? What are you trying to sell with this photo? And then you take it from there. What background is going to work with it? What clothing is going to work with it? What mood do we want out of it? So yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes into it.
How easy, or let me put it like this. I mean, you get a lot of people that have no photography experience, but are good models. But I mean, how much does it help you as a model that you have the photography experience? I mean, obviously, I've seen people standing in places, they look at a lens and they know exactly where in the frame they are, how to frame a shot. They know what to look for behind them. They know how to stand to catch the light, all those things. How important is your skill as a photographer? But let's work it both ways. How important is your skill as a photographer when modeling, but also how important is your modeling background when doing photo shoots?
Yes, Rihanna, I actually started with modeling before photography. And I actually decided when I got into modeling, I actually thought, photography looks quite interesting for me. And that's when I started to get interested in photography and started, actually I studied photography eventually. So that's when I started to get into it. And I must say, knowing what happens behind the camera definitely helped me with performance in front of the camera. It also made me a lot less nervous to be in front of the camera. I know in certain setups, what poses would work for this look. I definitely think it helped me a lot. And with regards to the photographer giving me direction, I kind of know what they want in the shot, and I think that definitely helped me when I became a photographer. To help me with my modeling, and also the other way around. Being a photographer, I know how to direct models better, and how to, since I've also been in front of the camera, I think it helps me to know what makes you feel, confident, and what you need from a direction point of view. Because
Yes.
I always feel like when I'm in front of the camera, if the photographer doesn't direct me properly, then I don't really know what they want, and I kind of feel left in the dark. So I feel like when you're a photographer, you need to be able to direct and give proper direction, just like with any movie where you have a director. You need to be able to communicate and say to the model or whoever is in front of your camera, this is the look I want, and adjust their pose until you're happy with that. And if they look a bit uptight, tell them, listen, just relax a bit, give me a bit more natural smile, like I want something a bit more spontaneous. Just communicate with them, because they don't know what your vision is, and it's your job to communicate to them. This is my vision, and just to get to the end result with the communication between the model and the photographer.
From my limited experience as a photographer, and I think it's important what you said, that you need to know what happens in front of the camera to make your life easier behind the camera. So I sometimes do a bit of sport photography, specifically in the sport that I'm passionate about. I do jiu-jitsu, which is just on the legs and bodies. I mean, you know what jiu-jitsu is. It's a mess, but knowing how people move and being able to anticipate their movements. I've done some photography of boxing and MMA fights and stuff as well. That it's a sport that I follow. It's a sport that I can anticipate some of the movements. So you can't just stand there and take 7 million pictures. You need to know certain actions will lead to certain positions. You need to be aware of the lighting. You need to know that when a guy does this, the other guy's reaction will be that. So you can get those shots, that you need. The same with you. You can look at lighting and go, I know how the light will catch a person's face in terms of where their hair should be, what clothing they should wear, how they should stand, their smile, their eyes, their nose, their everything. And I think that's important, that you have both sides of that coin, when you put something like that together. And you said it's like directing a movie. People see a picture, they think, oh, that's a pretty picture, but they don't realize what went into it. You don't see when a picture is good, but you can quickly pick up when a picture is really bad. That's the one thing that people don't realize, is they look at a picture and they think, oh, whatever, and they keep walking past it. A good picture should almost be, you shouldn't notice how good it is. But when a picture is bad and you look at it and you go, and that's when all the photographers come out of the woodwork, people that know how to hold a camera, and they all of a sudden want to give you the professional advice. And they want to go, oh, maybe you should try this, try this, try this. And you stand there going, you want to swear at them, but you can't. So, how frustrating is that for you? That's another thing I want to touch on here. How frustrating is that for you, standing somewhere and people come to you and they want to give you advice, even though you are the professional in this field?
Yes, Rian, it is quite frustrating, I must say, especially if the lighting is not right for the specific suggestion they're making. For example, if they say, why don't you take a photo on that staircase, but it's, there's no lighting at all on that staircase. Especially with wedding photography, you work with natural light. You can't cart around 2 million lights on the wedding day. So you work with natural light and what's the lighting that's available. It's difficult when people come with certain suggestions. And I mean, I've probably thought of that setup already and seen, okay, it probably won't work in that spot. Let's use this spot because this is a better, the lighting is better here. And if I turn the couple this way, it would work better. So it does kind of interrupt my visual creativity or my visual work flow or visualization
your
of
vision
what I want.
for the photo shoot, your vision.
Yes, it interrupts my creative vision.
Yes.
When people come with random suggestions. But then again, like I said, being a photographer, you have to be patient. You can't just snap at someone because they gave you a suggestion, Sometimes you must also listen. Maybe they have a good suggestion. You must also realize, okay, maybe it can work. So be open to information. You can say, okay, I'll try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But yeah, you have to have patience. But yeah, just to let people know, it does kind of interrupt your creative vision. But yeah, so I think twice when you want to come with a suggestion. Don't come with stupid suggestions,
Yeah.
but if you really have like a valid suggestion for a photographer, then yeah, if it looks like they have patience to listen to you, then suggest it.
Yeah. Um, Something I forgot to mention earlier, I mentioned you're a photographer, mentioned you're a model, and something I actually forgot to mention was you are also a published author, if I can put it like that. I know that you had an article published in Sari magazine as well on business advice tips, if I'm not mistaken, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur yourself. Can you run us through what that article was about? I mean, obviously we're trying to inspire people. I know everybody's going through a bit of a tough time now. What are some of the suggestions you have for small business owners as a business owner yourself?
Yeah, Rian, I've got a lot of tips for small business owners. I mean, it has a lot to do with yeah, how you run your business. It's definitely important if you're creative and you don't have the skills to work with your own finances. Definitely get someone to help you with that. And it also takes a lot of stress off you. And yeah, it saves you a lot of time. If you're struggling with the financial part of your business, just go to a professional to help you. At the end of the day, it's definitely so worth it. Um, and then yes, invest in your own business. People are often scared to take the next step. But yeah, my mom used to own her own small business, and she once gave me the advice of sometimes you have to take one step back to take 5 steps forward. So if you're thinking about investing in equipment, it's usually worth it. And if it can take you to that next level, definitely invest in your own business. So that's another tip that I have. Yeah, just try try keep your invoices and things like that together. um don't just, if you've bought something for business, don't just throw your slips away. Don't, try to keep those things together and then hand it over to someone that can manage that for you. Make sure you keep track and record of all your conversations with your clients. If someone phones you, give them your email address so that they can email you and you've got a track record of your conversation with that person. Especially when you get very busy, it's important to be able to go back on an email and see the thread. Where did this conversation start? What was a special request that this client had? Yeah, because sometimes you have to adjust things according to people's specific requests, especially with wedding photography. Maybe the package needs to be adjusted or something like that. So it's good to have a track record of all of those things. That's quite a big tip that I have. Yeah, and make sure you get back to your clients often. Keep track of all your bookings. So that you don't end up double booking things. I make sure I send out a contract to all of my clients to make sure, especially if you're in the creative industry or in photography, that you sign the copyright back to you so that the client, can't go and print their wedding photos on a massive billboard without your permission. Yeah, so I mean, those are just some of the basic things that are important if you're running your own business or photography business or any creative business. Yeah.
On that note, I know we try to focus on the positive things. We try to make sure that we don't get too negative. I know we're in a very difficult time at the moment, challenging times for everyone. And we keep hearing about small businesses struggling a lot, especially in this lockdown period, with people not being able to move around, people not being able to book things. I mean, specifically, we spoke about the wedding industry. venues have not necessarily closed down permanently, no, but they can't book weddings at this stage. When a wedding can't be booked at a venue, the caterer, the photographer, the makeup artist, the wedding dress designer, all these people, everything gets pushed back or cancelled. That's the difficult part. What have some of the challenges been for you in this lockdown period? I mean, obviously, I know you're a very busy person. You've got weddings booked like every weekend and some events in between as well. And obviously all of that for the last 10 weeks, what's it now, or 8 weeks, let's say, has basically come to a standstill. What has been some of the bigger challenges for you just to try and overcome and try and stay positive over the last couple of weeks?
Yes, Rian, it's been very challenging. I mean, in the wedding photography industry, well, not only with us, flowers, catering, everything. If a wedding gets postponed, then initially you could postpone that wedding, but that wedding is taking up a date of another event that you could have booked there. So that's very difficult in the wedding industry. I mean, it's massive amounts of money that's being lost. So, I mean, that has been a big knock for the wedding industry. And then I just think that everyone should try and accommodate each other at this point. If you can't, if you're trying to postpone your wedding, try to see if you can still accommodate all the service providers. Yeah, so see if you can accommodate each other. If you really can't, I think if someone cancels their wedding completely, there might be some other issues. I don't know. But when you postpone your wedding, try to accommodate those small local businesses that are really going to go through a tough time right now, just to make sure that everyone, are available at the same date. And that's also a big struggle to, maybe the photographer is available on your new date, but maybe your florist isn't. Yeah. So from an admin point of view, it's quite a nightmare. But yeah, we must all just try to be patient and work around this situation. I mean, being a wedding photographer, working with big groups of people, you are at a high risk if you're shooting a wedding. So your own safety is actually the number one priority here. So you must also just keep that in mind and not take your health for granted, and just try to stay positive. Try to maybe learn new skills in this time. If you're a creative person, I mean, try to be creative with things you can sell or make in the meantime. Try to get on top of your editing. Maybe you can get into design work or something like that. But yeah, it's just been quite a big nightmare from an admin point of view. But yeah, I've been very blessed with all of my brides. Have been very accommodating and very nice. I actually feel very sorry for them. I mean, to postpone your wedding, no one wants that. I mean, it's a day that you've been dreaming of since you were a little girl. So I would suggest rather just, postpone it, but try to stay positive. And yeah, I always say that your day is probably going to be even more special now. More blessings are going to come your way, and everyone's going to do extra effort for you on your special day.
I think it's an important thing that you mentioned there that people need to bring into context is that a wedding isn't a package deal. It's not you book one thing and it includes everything. Your venue, your catering. Sometimes your venue and your catering can be the same company. It's the same business, but your photographer, your florist, your dress designer, your makeup artist, all these different people need to come together from vastly different places to make this one event happen. So like you said, you can reschedule your venue, but maybe your photographer already has something else booked that day. You can reschedule. If you strike it lucky and your venue and your photographer is available, maybe the makeup artist has another thing happening, or they're unavailable for personal reasons, or they're traveling, or there's so many. You need to remember you're working with people, and people aren't stationary standard things. everyone is different, everyone is unique, everybody's circumstances is unique, and you need to keep in mind that the chips might not fall exactly the same way they did the previous time. If you're really lucky, maybe you pick a date and everybody's like, cool, it all works out. I mean, then you're blessed. Then you're absolutely lucky, because I mean, for all those different parts to come together again at the same point. And like you said, you're lucky. A lot of your brides have been understanding. I mean, this is circumstances beyond anybody's control. You know, this happened. No one knew it was, well, I say no one knew it was coming, but no one knew the extent of what it would be and how it would hit us, you know, and how it would affect us, how long it would be affecting us. We still don't know, you know. So have you had some people coming to you and say, Lisa, don't worry about it, we'll reschedule? And on the other hand, have you had some people come to you losing their minds absolutely irrationally, and I almost want to say making it your problem? I mean, have you had both sides of it?
You know what, Rian? I actually haven't. All of my brides have been so understanding and patient, and I don't know if I'm just very blessed, but my clients were all very understanding. I think I probably shouldn't recommend this, but it's just a personal thing. I have most of my brides on WhatsApp.
Okay, yeah.
So it was very easy for them to communicate with me. I know other photographers, or a lot of other photographers, are very against it, because people can communicate or message you any time of the day. But I see it as, I put my phone on flight mode at night. No one can message me during those hours. So if it's an emergency, they can contact me. So it was quite easy for me to communicate with my brides with regards to that. And most of them, or actually all of them, were very understanding. Like, I felt very sorry for them that they had to, you know, move these dates. But yes, they were very understanding, very nice. There was one person that had to cancel because I wasn't available on their date. But it's one of those things. Yeah, it's just one of those things. But I think at the end of the day, most people realize, you know, if you are able to have a wedding, you're actually very blessed, you know. If you're able to have a wedding of more than 10 people, and you're able to provide people with catering and have a photographer and have an amazing wedding dress, I mean, these are all first world problems, actually, if one of those things don't work out. So at the end of the day, just to be able, and I think that's maybe something that my brides have realized, that they are still very blessed. And I think that's why they've been patient and accommodating to me. And I think it's also just a relationship that I've built with my clients. Our communication is good. So it went quite easy so far, the new moving the weddings to the new dates and that.
How far ahead are some of these weddings been moved? I'm assuming because places are booked up probably until the end of the year. Have you rescheduled a lot of these weddings for later this year, for next year? How far have some of these weddings been pushed?
Well, at the moment, you know, so I was fully booked for May and June, but a lot of them have moved to August. A lot of them have moved to October. There was one that moved to next year, March. But the thing is, my quiet time is usually in August. So if they move to August, it's not really a big problem for me. But at the moment, they're kind of just moving on as the virus continues. So the brides that were going to get married in June have most of them moved to July, August. So if it continues, they're probably just going to keep moving on. We just have to work around it, and just try to, you know, find a date that suits everyone.
I think that's important what you're saying. Just you need to work around it, because I mean, there's no control over this thing. I mean, there's no way of knowing that, okay, everything for May has been cancelled, but we can reconvene and it will be fine. You know, we don't know that. You know, there's a chance that this can go on for weeks still, for months still. I mean, looking at the figures in South Africa at the moment, the infection rate has gone up quite rapidly. And then you get these, now that we've been knocked down to a lockdown level 4 and people are allowed to exercise. I don't know if you saw the pictures of Port Elizabeth, Summerstrand over the weekend, where it's like, oh, we're allowed to go outside. Let's have 10,000 people just walking on the beachfront, and I'm interested to see what the figures will do in the next couple of days. People that are now all of a sudden going to develop a little cough, and it might not be this virus, but I mean, it might just be, all of a sudden you actually went for a walk for the first time in 5 weeks, so maybe now your body's just in shock. I think there's going to be a lot of that going around, and people just, I'd like to believe that this thing is going to a point where it will get better, but I think we're still a long ways away before we actually see genuine improvement in the situation. And until then, we have to stay positive and try not to lose our minds. It's difficult not knowing where the end of this thing will be, but somehow we have to, like you said, find something to keep yourself busy with and try and stay positive.
Yes, Rian, definitely. I think, when we come out of this, the wedding industry is definitely going to boom. So, yeah, we must just try to stay positive, try to get something that you can make money with from home if you're in a situation where you running out of funds. And, yeah, just try to stay positive. It is, like they say, this virus, it doesn't discriminate. So we need to just realize that we're all in this situation. And yeah, I think, just if you can move your wedding, move it. The photographers will still be here on the other side of this. So I will still be super happy to photograph all those weddings whenever they might be. But yeah, I'm positive that will come out the other side.
You guys heard that, brides? The photographers need you. Don't now all of a sudden realize you don't want to get married anymore. It's not that bad. Your husband, your fiance is not this guy you're spending time with now. Everybody's frustrated. Everybody's struggling. Don't cancel anything just yet. Leze, just one last thing. People that want to get a hold of you, what's your website details, social media? Where can people reach you?
Rian, I've got a website where you can find me at www.lezeherterphotography.com. And then I've got, I don't know if you want to put it at the bottom or wherever, just for the spelling. And then I've got a Facebook page, just Leze Herter Photography, and an Instagram page, just also Leze Herter Photo. So you can look me up and send me a message on any one of those platforms. If you want to email me, you can email me at lezeherter@gmail.com.
Send. And with that, Leze, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much. It was great catching up with you, great chatting with you. We haven't seen each other in a while. It's actually nice to just put up your face back up here and we can see each other. Yeah, good luck with everything. We'll stay in touch, obviously, but I mean, hope everything goes well on your end. Hope this thing kind of comes to a point where we can see and get an end in sight, Let's hope the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train coming towards us. Let's hope that it's a positive thing. And look forward to chatting again. Leze, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rian. It was lovely chatting to you.
Cool. Cheers.
Bye.